Welcome to the channel. We're in at the office and we're going to do Proverbs 27 verses 25 to 27. When hay is removed and new growth appears, and the grain from the hills is gathered, the lambs will provide you with clothing, and the goats with the price of a field. You will have plenty of goat's milk to feed you, food for your household, and nourishment for your maidservants. In relationships, hay, in this context, can speak of all the sinful things that we do to one another. And as we resolve the issues, as we remove the problems and help things to be fixed and straightened out and brought to peace, new growth appears. New, wonderful, revealing things appears. And many people don't have this experience because they don't want to remove the hay. They don't want to resolve the issue. Sinfulness can bring so many problems to our lives. In too many cases, sinfulness is described as narcissism and other personality disorders, but let's just not take anything away from that. Sinfulness is sinfulness. Many of you have taken the time to watch this short presentation, have been in situations where you've been misrepresented, you've been violated, you've had your character assassinated, terrorized, vandalized behind your back. And I just want to read something to you about people who have tried to ruin you. From Matthew 11 verse 1. After Jesus had finished instructing his 12 disciples, you've got to understand that Jesus was a man who cared about what he was teaching his disciples. He went on from there to teach and preach in the cities, and he went beyond that and he taught and helped others as well. Meanwhile, John heard in prison about the works of the Lord Jesus Christ, and he sent his disciples to ask him, "Are you the one who was to come, or should we look for someone else?" Jesus replied, "Go back and report to John what you hear and see. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the good news is preached to the poor. Blessed is the one who does not fall away on account of me." Too often we don't remove the hay, and the hay doesn't be removed from around us and our relationships because we don't want to represent the people that are in our lives the correct way. We want to pull them down. We want to make them into something that is quite not who they are. And I've had relationships with women who have had trouble with family members as to who I am and what I'm about. And I've asked them to, can't you say something or do something? I mean, they were being treated well, loved, respected, cooked, cleaned, looked after, contributed. Nah. They couldn't find a way to get past the barriers of the hay. They couldn't remove the hay that was causing the trouble. And instead of new growth appearing, things remain dead. And it's this deadness in the emotions. See, Jesus said, let the dead bury their own dead. The people who are dead are people who don't want to remove the things out of their life that are robbing them. And too often, these things that are robbing us are the people that are closest to us. And we need to identify and remove the hate. We need to resolve the issues as quickly as we can. And if those issues can't be resolved, if those issues that we're causing or somebody else is causing cannot be resolved, no new growth will appear. There'll be no more growth in the relationship. That means the relationships come to a point of deadness. There'll be no grain gathered from the hills. Gathering grain from the hills is an upward effort. The lambs won't provide you with clothing because you've let everything die. The goats won't bring in the price of the field. And you won't have the goat's milk to feed you, for your household and nourishment for your maidservants won't be there either. It's a dead life. When the hay is removed and the new growth appears, we start to be blessed. The blessing can start, and it might not happen overnight, but it's going to happen, and we need to resolve the things that are causing us trouble. This might be hard for many of us to identify. It might be hard for many of us to understand, to get our head around. But sinfulness will try and blind us from the fact that there are things in our life that we need to remove. For many of you, this has caused your spirit to grow faint. Psalm 142 verse 1. I cry out to the Lord. I lift my voice to the Lord for mercy. I pour out my complaint before him. I reveal my trouble to him. Although my spirit grows faint within me, you know my way, Lord. Although the path I travel, they have hidden a snare for me along it. Look to my right and see, no one attends me. There is no refuge for me. No one cares for my soul. And this is where many of you are at right now. Many of you are struggling the way the psalmist has. But he says, I cry to you, O Lord. You are my refuge, my portion in the land of the living. Listen to my cry, for I am brought quite low, and rescue me from my pursuers. And these are the people that want to vandalize you and everything that you do. They're terrorists, but they are too strong for me. They're psychological terrorists, and they can wear you down. Here the psalmist says, this has all gotten too much for me. I know how that feels. I remember in two of my relationships, the children of the women that I were with were just completely out of control. And very sadly and unfortunately, these women didn't know what to do. Or they did know what to do, but weren't going to deal with it. And the relationship was lost. Both relationships were lost. Free my soul from prison, that I may praise your name. The righteous will gather around me because of your goodness to me. You see, when people don't want to remove the hay, everything's going to go dead. And when the hay is removed, things rise from the dead. So while things are dead, if the hay is left sitting there, it can be removed and things will sprout. It's just a matter of whether you're going to do it quick enough before people wear out around you or not. because the psalmist said, "They are too strong for me." It was all too much for him. Rescue me from these fools. And that's crying out for resolve. The people around him weren't bringing the resolve. It was stopping the grain from coming in, the prosperity, and all the rest of it was all stopped. And a lot of these people who don't remove the troubles from their lives and from their relationships don't go on to prosper. They just don't go on to experience the blessings. And the grain from the hills will be gathered, the lambs will provide clothing, and the goats with the price of the field. You will have plenty of goat's milk to feed you, and food for your household and nourishment for your maidservants. These are the people that remove the hay. These are the people that want things to be on track, things to be resolved. These are the people that want life to be at peace. A lot of people like toxicity, and they wear people out. They put people in prison in a psychological way if you're around them too long. But the Lord will rescue you from these people. He will hear your cry, and so will the people that you are turning to for advice. Many of you need to remove yourself from these people that are causing you trouble and come into a place where your new growth appears, where you can gather the grain from the hills, provide yourself with the clothing that you need, have plenty of goat's milk, and so that your life is nourished.